This is the last in the series of our encounters with Jesus, and I just kind of felt that last song was appropriate because, whilst I know Terry doesn't like the word reckless, do you, in it, I think it's reckless in earthly terms. In our mind, what Jesus is doing is stupid, because he's taking a chance on a load of people that, well, look at us. You know, why would he take a chance on me? No one. How many people in earthly terms take a chance on people that are just everyday people? We don't. We have to have a contract. We have to have an agreement. We have to have rules and regulations. And Jesus just said, come and follow me. He knew the real them, but the inside them, the different person they will become. Because I believe not only does he know us now, but he knows what we'll become. And so I get the hesitance on the reckless, but I don't think Jesus is being reckless in his mind. It's just in terms of the earthly idea. But I just like it because actually these encounters, apart from one so far, I kind of think Jesus probably created the opportunity. It gave somebody an opportunity to have an encounter with him. I think he, you know, if you look at the woman at the well, or the guy that was blind that Jesus healed, or even last week Zacchaeus up the tree, he could have just kept walking. He could have ignored them. He'd always got something to do. He wasn't, you know, didn't have a lot of spare time on his hands. He could have kept going, but he used the opportunity to give them the chance of an encounter. And if you look back at the talks, so many times did we see that an individual or a group would meet with Jesus and an encounter would be created. It started off with a gentle conversation, or somebody would ask a question, and it soon turned into Jesus challenging them or throwing a question back at them for them to consider their lives. And then it was kind of left with that choice that we all have. Do we submit to Christ? Do we give our lives to Christ? Do we choose to follow him like the disciples did? Or like the rich man we heard about a couple of weeks ago, is it too much? Is it just too much to take that extra step? And I think every story that we've seen, and so many other stories in the Bible, we could have probably gone on till the summer and beyond, of stories where Jesus met with an individual or a group or even thousands of people, and he gave them an opportunity to turn around. And he gave us the opportunity to, and he does that every day. And so this final talk, we're looking at another story where Jesus meets with, this time with a group of people. This is his encounter with 10 lepers. So we're just going to see it briefly, hopefully without too many adverts, but you never know.
Well.
Thanks, Claire. A very short story. If you look at it in the Bible, it literally is a few lines. But I find it really interesting because so many of us get opportunity to be invited to something. We usually worry about what to wear. We worry about what gift to take. We worry about whether we'll fit in. Will it be a party we want to be part of? And actually, Jesus is inviting us to a celebration of us being with him forever in heaven. But with every invitation, you have to reply. You have to read it, recognise it's for you, and make a decision whether to go or not. We're having a celebration, as part of the 40th anniversary. We're having a celebration at the Bishop's house later in the year for staff and trustees and a few key people that have been part of the mission for a long, long time. There's obviously lots of other things we're doing too. And the way the bishop wants it done is you have to have a proper invitation. It almost feels like a wedding invitation. And it's still really interesting to see the different way people have responded. The invitation looked quite pretty, printed on cream paper, cream card to make it look all the more inviting. And it was like, you know, the bishop and, I can't remember the full way it was, but basically the bishop and his wife was inviting us to go and spend some time in his house for a drinks reception as part of the 40th celebration. And it's quite funny because I know I printed it. I know I wrote on it. It's just a bit of card. Some people, within minutes, had replied. In fact, I gave somebody an invitation in Connect, and they'd replied before I got back to my computer. And they replied in a very formal, my wife and I would very much like to be, and I think, you don't talk like that normally. But they saw the opportunity, they saw the value in the invitation. And I can tell you now, there are still some people who haven't replied at all. Don't point at your wife.
She's the minute secretary.
And how many times do I see you compared to I see your wife?
She hasn't told me whether I can go.
Yeah. We're not meeting next week, so we're doing counselling with John and Carol. But actually, an invitation sometimes is... I can remember when we don't have as many invitations to children's parties these days, thank the Lord. But you know, when the invitation used to come through, and you'd find it in their bag, we'd make the decision before we showed them the invitation. Because you knew you were going to spend probably an hour and a half in a soft place somewhere where it smelled sick and was very hot and horrible. So we would consider, is it a good thing? Do we want them to be friends with these children? You know, but actually, don't lie on them, you know we did it. This invitation from Jesus is the ultimate invitation. And actually at this point, in these moments we've heard about the last few weeks, it's an invitation to a conversation, really. All it is an invitation to a chat. And as Steve shared with us last week, you know, what's stopping us? What's stopping us going, just having that chat with Jesus? We all know that praying is just a conversation between us and Jesus. Jesus wants to know what's stopping us taking that step of accepting his invitation. And the invitation obviously then moves on. The invitation comes with a challenge. How many people would go to a party and not take something with them? I struggle with, we've been part of church groups and home groups, and I don't know, I can't go to somebody else's house without something in my hand to give. How many? That's something we do, isn't it? It's even our kids. You know, Poppy's now nearly 17, and she says, "I'm just popping around to see my friend. Do you want to take a packet of biscuits with you?" Because in my head, that's what you do. You take a gift. And obviously, when you go to a birthday party or a wedding or anything like that, you take a gift. But in this situation, the gift is the opposite way around. If you accept the invitation, if you are willing to start that conversation with Jesus, and you're willing to look at that invitation as a future opportunity for the rest of your life and beyond, then actually the gift is given to you. Jesus is the gift. And as we see in the video, the thing that kind of bemuses Jesus a little bit is that when you get invited to a party and you go and you have a good time and something exciting happens and you get to leave with a party bag, you usually say thank you, don't you? But in this story, 10 are healed. And Jesus has done it in a way that makes it more formal and recognisable by the church of the time, because he says, go and see the priest. Go and show the priest your bodies. Because it was only the priest that could say they were clean. And they all rush off excited, as children do at the end of a party, rushing through their party bags, seeing if they've got any bubbles and if they've got any sweets. They're all eating them before they get home. Only one recognises the value of the person that gave it to them. And actually that's the challenge for us as we go forward. Whether we've been a Christian forever or we're not quite there, we're just dipping our toe in, that happens every day. Jesus gives us an invitation every day. When we wake up, that invitation is come and follow me. Come and see. Come and see the difference we can make together. Come and follow me because you can spend eternity with me. He offers himself as a gift to us. But then we have to recognise the difference. And it is right that we say thanks. And sometimes we say thanks in our prayers, in our worship. Sometimes we say thanks in the way we serve God. And many people serve God here and at other places. But actually, we need to make sure we accept that invitation. We don't want to be like the rich man of a couple of weeks ago, who in my heart, I really, really pray at some point down the line that story changed. that somewhere it impacted his life. He went, do you know what, Jesus was right, and his life changed. But we don't know. But we don't want to be in a situation where we get to the end and we haven't at least considered that invitation to a chat. As I said last week, I'm going to too many funerals at the moment. Our next door neighbour would claim that he was an atheist, and his wife kept going, you will pray for him when he dies, won't you? And that's exactly what we kept saying, isn't it? So ask Andy what she did, but not now. We need to recognise we've got an invitation every day. Doesn't matter who we are. Doesn't matter if you're the Archbishop of Canterbury or somebody in the street. You have an invitation every day to follow Jesus. We have that. There's no dress code. On the invitation that went out from the bishop, I can't remember what the dress code is, but I know I don't meet it. So I've got to find some way that shorts well, but it's really interesting because Tim Bassett at Chair of Trustees, it says work business wear. Tim wears shorts on. No? He just said yes. Yeah. So I promise I won't wear shorts, so I won't embarrass you too much. But actually there's no dress code. There's no dress code to an invitation with Jesus. Andy and I went on holiday a few years ago, and it was one of these places you could go to different restaurants at different times. And Andy found that there was this really posh French restaurant on the site, and she wanted to go to this very la-di-da posh restaurant with a piano and all of that. And we get there, and they said, yeah, you can only come in if I can be wearing shorts, but I've got to wear proper shoes. I didn't take proper shoes with me, and they would loan you some proper shoes. My feet are quite wide, and I think these shoes were for the thinnest feet men in the world. And I was crippled through the whole meal. I was uncomfortable, I didn't enjoy it. Somebody really enjoyed herself, but I didn't. But Jesus wouldn't do that. The invitation is open to all. He doesn't say you can't come in because you got a mark on your shirt. He doesn't say you can't come in because you said a bad word the other day. The invitation to that conversation is to all. And then when he meets you, he knows you. He knows you inside and out, back and front, from the start to the end. It's really interesting. One of the things my neighbour has been saying to kind of comfort her family, she kept saying that she believes that God said that it's like having a boat, number 19, your time is up. Come on in, that's the end of it. And I said, well, actually, no. And I explained that in the Bible it says that your days are written in God's book. And actually she's found that comforting, that he died at a point where God said that was the end of his life. But we don't want to miss that invitation. We don't want to miss that challenge, that opportunity to have a chat with God. And I suppose the final point I want to make, again, in the whole of this series, is don't be like the rich man. Don't miss that opportunity. What's the worst that could happen? You live a nice life. You live a happy life. You live a life that is fulfilling. Just don't miss out. Don't miss out on the biggest party ever when you get to heaven. I hope it's been an interesting series. If anybody wants to come and chat afterwards, please do.